Okay, good evening, everyone. It's 5 o'clock. Welcome to the Committee of Adjustment meeting for the town of Tecumseh, May 27th. We'll have roll call. We have 4 members present, so good there. I'll just call the meeting to order and ask for any disclosure of pecuniary interest on the board. No, seeing none. Okay, minutes of April 29th were pre-circulated. Any comments, questions, additions, corrections? Seeing none. Motion to approve. Okay, Doug and Paul. Okay, we have several applications tonight. The first one is application for minor variance, 1041 St. Pierre. Donna, if you want to read it. Just before we get started, I know we have several attendees for tonight's meeting here to comment on some of these applications. Just a reminder that we're going to ask that anybody that wants to speak to come to the front, use the microphone, turn it on and off. Address your questions to the committee, not to yourselves. We're not going to have any interpersonal discussion. All the questions will come through me and we'll respond accordingly. Okay. I know we have one attendant virtually on a couple of the applications. So anyhow, Donna, if you want to read the application. Thank you.
Can we have the applicants attend at the front, please? Thank you. Applications for minor variance A0624 and A1424 for 1041 St. Pierre Street, Lot 135 and Lot 136. The purpose of the applications A0624 and A1424 is to request relief from the following subsections of zoning bylaw 1746. Subsection 5.1D establishes that an existing lot may be developed for all uses in the appropriate zone, provided all other regulations of the bylaw are satisfied, and such lots have a minimum lot frontage of 12 meters, 39.4 feet. Subsection 5.33A establishes that a driveway in a residential zone shall have a maximum width of 7.62 meters, 25 feet. Subsection 5.33B establishes the minimum distance between a driveway and a lot line shall be 0.5 meters, 1.6 feet. Subsection 7.1.5 establishes a maximum lot coverage of 30%, and subsection 7.1.8 establishes a minimum floor area of 102 square meters, 1,097.9 square feet for the main primary dwelling unit. The applicant is proposing the redevelopment of the property concurrently having a municipal address of 1041 St. Pierre Street. This property comprises of 2 existing 9.1 meter 30-foot lots of record, Lot 35 on the northern side and Lot 136 on the southern lot. For each existing lot, Lot 135 and Lot 136, the applicant is proposing to construct a new single-unit dwelling with an attached additional residential unit in the basement and a standalone ARU in the rear yard with direct access to the municipal alley that abuts the property to the west. The applicant is seeking the above referenced relief to permit the construction of a primary dwelling with a floor area of 81.8 square meters, 880 square feet on each of the existing 9.1 meter 30-foot lots, resulting in 31.3% lot coverage. The applicant is also requesting relief to permit a 9.1 meter 30-foot driveway on each lot with direct access to and from the abutting alley with no setbacks from the side lot lines Please refer to the sketch attached to the notice. The subject property is designated residential in the official plan and zoned residential R2 in zoning bylaw 1746. The following are the comments received. Public Works and Engineering. Administration has had numerous discussions with the applicant and the representatives regarding their proposal as it relates to the alley access and the new ARUs. It should be noted the existing alley located between St. Pierre Street and L'Esperant Road is owned and maintained by the municipality. The existing makeup of the alley varies generally from loose gravel to grass and is used by the hydroelectric company to service its hydro infrastructure. A condition of the minor variance is that a full width of the alley be reconstructed to the town standards up to the northernmost limits of the subject parcel 1041 St. Pierre Street. Work within the alley is viewed by Public Works in the same manner as any public infrastructure improvement and replacements. That means typical provisions and safeguards, studies and approvals will be required by the town. And this includes, but not necessarily limited to, the following: a complete design of asphalt paving structure by a registered professional engineer, inclusive of all necessary grading, drainage, storm water infrastructure within the alleyway and required connections to municipal storm sewers. Stamped engineered drawings, design drawings of the proposed service connections, including existing ground elevations, proposed pipes, locations, elevations of utilities, etc. Design in compliance with the CLI ECA as published by the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks. The owner shall provide satisfactory documentation evidencing completion of the works in accordance with the town's approved consolidated linear infrastructure environmental compliance approvals for the storm sewer infrastructure. Excess soil regulations will be required. The site design engineer is required to provide the town with written confirmation in accordance with the approved site service drawings. In addition, they will also require existing water service line to be for the new ARU and a new water meter be installed. In the absence of site-specific details regarding the location, condition, and size, alternate arrangements may be required at the discretion of the Water Service Division. Permits from the town's Water Service Division are required for any installation of water services for any required daylighting of water infrastructure. Permits from the Water Department for the installation of any water infrastructure. The design engineer is to be on site for any service connections within the town's right-of-way. As part of the permitting process, the owner will be required to submit traffic control plans. The applicant will be required to obtain permits from Public Works to do works in the town's right-of-way. The installation of any municipal services, water, storm, or sanitary, are required. Minimum separation distances for water infrastructure to storm and sanitary must be adhered to. The cost of servicing is at the expense of the applicant, and that includes engineering and consultation fees as well as permits and the construction costs. All existing infrastructure disrupted as part of surfacing construction must be fully restored to the satisfaction of PWES. There must be an agreement and securities, which is outlined in detail in the planning report. The building department, the applicant is granted for the proposed variance. The owner shall obtain building permits and ensure all information and applicable laws are met with the Ontario Building Code. Detailed building plans shall be submitted by a qualified individual, and an engineered lot grading plan will be required at the time of permit submission. No concerns from fire. ERCA has no objections with the application. Essex Power Line. The proposed ARU may be below the existing service requirements. The ARU must be fed from the existing lot service, only one service lot permitted. Please consult with Essex Power Line to ensure adequate service connection. And the pole at P01827 at the alley may need to be relocated to accommodate the proposed parking area. Consultation with Essex Power is also required for that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Donna. So you're the owners?
I'll be the builder.
You're the owner or you're
No, I'm his representative. I'd be the builder.
okay,
Building this. farm.
you don't just state your name for the record?
Yeah, it's Daniel Crafts.
Okay, all right, and you, ma'am?
Jackie Lastline Planning Consultants.
Okay. So, we have a list of people, so maybe we'll let you speak and you can tell us a little bit about what it is that you're planning.
Basically, if you take a look at Chad's first page of his report, basically, I'll go through, there's 5 minor variances that we're asking for. The first one is the 9.1 meters for the existing lots. Each lot's existing, and we're asking for the frontage to be recognized. We're not creating a new lot frontage, it's existing. The second one is to recognize the driveway at the back. The driveway that will be accessing the alleyway will have a conjoined driveway, and therefore we don't have the separation distance you can see on the sketch up above. We don't have the 0.5 separation distance that's required under the bylaw. So we've asked for that so that we can have a driveway to accommodate these 6 parking spaces. The third is the minimum distance between a driveway and a lot line. And, oh, I'm sorry, I mixed those two up. The second one is actually the driveway width, and that's because we have that conjoined driveway. The fourth is lot coverage. With the ARU, we have just slightly over and a covered porch on the front of the building. We wanted to make it look like the rest of the neighborhood with covered front porches. We're just slightly over the 30% allowed at 31%. And finally, the fifth one is the minimum floor area. We are trying to provide affordable housing, and therefore we're asking for 81 square meters as the minimum floor area for the unit. And I concur with Chad's comments in his report, where he has indicated that this is good planning and it provides for the housing that's intended under the ARU policies.
Okay, thank you. Any comments?
I think you know, Tecumseh is a very nice town, one of the nicest in Essex County. Keeping the parking as a minimum in the front is more desirable. Putting the cars in the back that nobody can see, maintaining the nice facade as you drive down the roads is what we're trying to get there. We're just trying to make the most of the space and hide the unsightly parking in the back, which is responsible for a few of the items on what we're asking for.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll hear from, I'll just call up the names here. And maybe you can remove yourselves and we'll let others come up and comment. Brad Snellgrove, resident at 1025 St. Pierre.
I have to hit the button.
Yes, if you don't mind, shut the other one off there. Thank you.
Perfect. So my biggest problem was the lot already severed off? Because that's not 2 properties, that's 1 property. The one side's a garage, the other's a house. They want to cut that in half, put 2 properties, and then put properties at the, houses or outlets at the back. And that's gonna affect alley access. Is that exactly what they want to do? Because it's just in a diagram.
Chad, do you want to talk to that?
Sure, through Mr. Chair. So this does get a bit confusing, but it's a legal issue. The current lot, which is 60 feet wide,
Right,
consists of two underlying lots in a plan of subdivision. That plan of subdivision is from way back, like
okay, so that
decades
used to
ago.
be,
Yeah, it used to be 30 feet. So when
so it was basically grandfathered in. So now we have two properties grandfathered in from how long ago? Because isn't it 40 feet that a lot is supposed to be?
So, Mr. Chair, through you, I don't know the exact date of the plan of subdivision that created these lots, but you can see historically, some lots are 60 feet in width, some are 30 feet. There's many 30-foot lots in the neighborhood that's just east of Les Bronce and along Les Bronce Road. And the 40 feet that the gentleman's referring to is it's the bylaw provision that the proponents are requesting relief from. So existing lots like these two 30-foot lots can only be built on if the relief is granted, because the bylaw establishes that you have to have a minimum of 12 meters or 39.5 feet. And they're asking for that relief, and that relief has been granted by the committee many times in the past. And you can see that in this area, there are a number of lots that have those 30-foot lots that have been built on. So it's in keeping with the character of the area in that respect.
Do I have to hit? No, perfect. So the character of the area. So now that we're gonna have that, we're gonna have 6 apartments basically on 2 lots in a residential neighborhood with parking access, with the alley blocked off for parking and no parking on the street, because a lot of our people park on the street because we have single lots. So if there's 2 people lives in a house, we already have a spot on the street. So how do we accommodate for that?
Okay,
Just curious,
yeah,
that's, you know,
I don't have an answer for you, but we'll take your questions. and
okay,
your
but I have
comments.
one more.
Yes, go ahead.
So then, why are we changing the lot sizes now? And going back to a grandfathered thing from, say, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, now that the lot sizes are this now?
Chad, you want to comment?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So as you can see on the screen, the lots to the north of the subject property, the subject property is 1041 St. Pierre here. The
Okay,
lots to the north are both two of those underlying
right,
lots on the original plan of subdivision. This lot actually, if you saw the plan of subdivision, it would be divided in half and there would be 2 lots. As
right,
we know in the report, one is lot 136 and the other is lot 135 in that original plan of subdivision.
okay,
Okay, and you can see it also applies to lots to the west, and we can point to many examples within this neighborhood like that. And the applicant, as he stated earlier tonight, he wants to put the parking off of the alleyway to ensure that there isn't this parking in the front of it that wouldn't be in keeping with the majority of the character of St. Pierre Street. So the parking would be from behind, off the alleyway, and it's not seen along the streetscape of St. Pierre. It makes for a much better built form. And it utilizes this bit of municipal infrastructure that, we've noted in the report has to be upgraded, but it utilizes that to, hide the parking and showcase the buildings instead of the parking.
but then again, that blocks our alley access. So what is the option for that? Why are they allowed to park in the alley when it's for alley access?
Well, I believe they're parking on the property.
Okay,
They're not parking in the alley.
and that's not gonna block off the alley when it comes to snow removal and all that stuff? And hydro and telephone service?
So the agreement for the use of the alley is laid out in the conditions of any approval that we've granted tonight. Okay, thank you. Chad?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, and I just want to be clear, you're correct. The parking is actually, if you look up on the screen, the parking is within the lot at the rear of the lot.
Okay.
The alleyway
But
is.
they're using the alleyway as a
To
road to
access it.
the, road to the,
That's the intent, yes.
okay, now that alleyway is not graded. That alleyway's drainage is horrible. So what, is this gonna improve that alleyway? Are they actually gonna cut the lawn in the alleyway now?
Those are part of the site plan or the conditions of development. Those conditions, if this was approved tonight, would go with that. The owner would have to meet those conditions before any building permit was granted.
Okay. Okay. So I just shut the button off?
Okay. All right, thank you. I have Diane Fotopoulos. Yeah, go ahead and hit it just so we can record it. Thank you.
Okay. So my concern for both of these properties, as well as the one next door to me, is that every time it rains, we flood. And we had a big flood a few years ago. I feel, and plus the transformer, if a squirrel runs down the line, we lose our power. So the infrastructure in this area is old. And now you're talking about putting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 new buildings in this area. And I feel that there's not enough infrastructure that's current in that area to begin with. The second thing I want to say is I did speak to today, and I also spoke to I did speak with him today, and he said that the planners currently feel there is appropriate infrastructure for all three or three changes to take place. But as soon as people start seeing that they can put a unit on the back of their lot, it's going to happen down the street. And so how many more units are you going to put on this same infrastructure before enough is enough or enough is too much? Those are my concerns. I feel like I basically was told it's allowable anyway. So I feel kind of like I came here for nothing tonight, but I at least feel like I needed to come and say what I had to say. So that's really all I have to say. And I'm really not even going to stay because I feel like your minds are made up. Like I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but he said many times, it's allowable, it's allowable. Yeah, because it's allowable, does it mean that this town has the infrastructure in place to handle that many more units on that block? So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Chad, if you would, maybe you could speak to the ARU history and how long it's been in place.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The concern that was raised with respect to the services and their capacity is shared by the town and the engineering department. But in this case, they've reviewed it and they didn't submit those capacity concerns within their comments. It's something that we will have to monitor over time as these ARUs start to develop within our existing neighborhoods. We'll be monitoring the storm systems and the sanitary systems to ensure that, they're not overwhelmed by ARUs. We don't believe that ARUs are going to be something that we were going to see hundreds of applications over, on a yearly basis. It will be something that incrementally is introduced to the community. And as I said, we've got modeling that, that assesses the capacity of these systems and ensures that development doesn't overtax them. So it's something that it's a concern we share, and it's a concern that we're going to be addressing. ARUs are not something that the municipality has a choice in permitting. And I don't think that it's a done deal necessarily. We do bring applications that we feel we can support from a planning perspective to the committee. I think what Mr. DeCecco was simply conveying is that the province mandated that ARUs be permitted on a property, and that's 3 ARUs per property. And that can come in the form of 2 ARUs within the principal dwelling, so three units in total there, or one ARU within the principal dwelling and one in a detached or standalone ARU, which is the case in these applications. So it's something that we have to accommodate, and we can only impose regulations on them.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next resident is Michael Morand, 1048 St. Pierre.
Is it working? Oh, there. Hi, my name is Michael. I live at 1048 St. Pierre Street. I have some questions. What would be the expected occupancy of each dwelling?
Chad, you want to speak to that?
I can, but I think maybe perhaps the proponents could speak better to that. But I can say that ARUs are intended for a smaller household size, and in our estimates of how much service and demands there would be, we wouldn't assume a typical what we call PPU or persons per unit for an ARU. It would be much less than the typical standard for a single unit detached dwelling. But perhaps the proponent could share with us any information.
Okay, would the proponent like to come up and just to maybe address that question? Excuse me, sir.
What is the expected occupancy of each dwelling?
Like what kind of people are gonna be in there, or?
No many.
How many?
Oh, there are 2-bedroom units and there's one bedroom unit.
So five people per lot?
Yeah,
So 2 people,
yeah, 2
In
up,
the-
2 down, and there's a little 1-bedroom unit in the standalone ARU at the back.
So more like 6 people per lot.
No, 5. 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5.
Why would there only be one in the small house?
It's just 1 bedroom.
2 people live in 1 bedroom?
Sure, yeah, we can't obviously predict that, right? I mean,
So
that's,
6 is a more realistic number.
if that's what you wanna hear, sure.
okay, thank you.
Another question, will all units be separately metered for electricity or water, or will they share the same for each lot?
I believe each one is metered separately. Chad, can you confirm? Yeah.
Don't the bylaws require them to be shared for both electricity and water?
Chad?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. I had this conversation with the director just before the meeting. The intent is that they don't have their own separate connection because they're never going to be allowed to be severed from the property. So they have to use the same connection at the road. So if you look up on the screen, there'll be a connection along St. Pierre, sanitary water and storm, and they have to share that singular connection. But there would be separate metering for the units, is what I was told.
Okay.
I would like to ask the builder another question. What is the builder's plans after the structures are built on the property?
You want to address that, sir?
To rent them out?
They won't be sold?
No,
Will you be living in one or more?
nope.
So Chad, maybe just clarify. So these they can be sold, I guess, because they're 2 separate lots, correct?
Yeah, they would have to be, so the lots could be sold, each individual lot, but the 3 units on each lot could not be sold separately from one another. No.
2 structures per lot.
Yes,
They could be sold as north-south properties.
right,
Yeah.
right, correct.
They'll have separate addresses.
I have another question. Does the committee think 10 variances across these 2 lots suggest a significant application or a minor? application to the bylaws?
These are minor. Chad, if you want to speak for that.
So, yeah, that's up to the committee is here tonight to determine whether these minor variances are supportable. And it's not a mathematical exercise. It's not a function of the number of variances, the number of areas of relief that you're requiring or requesting. It's a function of meeting 4 tests that are established in the Planning Act. And those 4 tests are that it meets the intent of the official plan. In my report, I've gone through each of those 4 tests for the committee. If you want me to elaborate on any aspect of it, I can. But it's the intent of the official plan. It meets the intent of the zoning bylaw. It results in appropriate development for the area. And it's minor in nature. And the subtest for that is that it doesn't result in undue adverse impact.
Okay, thank you.
So you are convinced that it's compatible with the current surrounding structures, even when taking into consideration the reduction in the minimum floor area for the main dwellings over both lots being reduced by 40% from a total of about 1,100 square feet to about 880 square feet, but the lot coverage, the size of the buildings that cover the lot on both lots exceeding the maximum amount of 30%?
Yeah, I'm going to ask that you just state it as a question and we'll record it as opposed to having dialogue with
Oh.
Chad directly. Thank you.
My apologies. Do you consider it compatible with the current surrounding structures, in particular when taking into consideration the reduction in minimum floor area for both the main dwellings over both lots being reduced by about 40%? But the lot coverage, aka the size of the buildings that cover the lots on both lots, slightly exceeding the amount permitted by 30%.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any more questions?
Oh, yes.
Go ahead.
How many parking spots per dwelling is currently calculated?
Chad? I believe there's.
Yeah, there are 4 parking off-street parking spaces per lot. The bylaw requires 1 per the ARU and 1.5 for the main dwelling, and then you have to, if it lands in between, or 2 for the main dwelling. So that's where you get the four parking spaces per lot.
Okay, so 4 required.
Is it reasonable to assume, since the statement from the builder said both of the above raised ranch units in the front are going to be 2-bedroom, that it could be reasonably assumed that there'd be 2 vehicles per raised ranch per unit, and that parking could be an issue, especially as you can tell with the map around with all the mixed use, commercial and residential?
Jackie, would you like to comment?
The intent of the ARU is to be slightly smaller, and that's why we've requested that smaller footprint. The intent is to have it within a walkable area and within an area close to commercial uses and other supportive amenity uses. The ARU only requires 1 parking space for each of the units. That will be specified in the rental agreement that the tenants will be entering into, that they have 1 allocated parking space.
Thank you.
Am I correct that the rear parking spots are 20 feet by 7/8 deep? Is that correct?
Can you comment on that?
So, Mr. Chair, and maybe this is a good time to introduce one of the amendments that staff is proposing be made to the application. They're currently 10 by 20, which is, kind of it used to be a standard in the town, but the bylaw minimum in Tecumseh is 2.75 meters or 9 feet by 18 feet deep. We're suggesting that these parking spaces that are proposed off of the alleyway be the 9 foot by 20 foot version or 18 feet, that they meet the minimum in the bylaw so that relief isn't required, but that they're narrowed so that landscape strip can be placed along both the north lot at this location here and the south lot at this location. And that is to, partially address issues of runoff and for snow removal in the wintertime if necessary. So, Mr. Chair, if the committee decides that it can support this application, we would want it supported with that condition. Or that amendment.
To include the buffer or landscape?
Yeah, yes.
And it would be one driveway slab across the back?
Yes, Mr. Chair, there would still be a 0 setback between the two lots that comprise the subject property. So where you would introduce the landscape strip would be to the north, adjacent existing neighbors to the north, and then one to the south as well.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do you have another question?
Yes, are you aware that certain large vehicles such as trucks and large SUVs do exceed 20 feet in length? And what would happen if such vehicles parked in the alleyway and were a few feet or a few inches in the alleyway? Would it not be obstructing the public lane?
Chad, go ahead.
Yeah, just Mr. Chair, the standards are meant to accommodate larger vehicles. Yes, I'm aware that there are many larger vehicles out there. I'm also aware that the larger vehicles aren't everywhere, and that when you look to purchase something or rent something, you want to make sure that you can accommodate your vehicle within the parking space. As Ms. Leslie noted, the reason that this property lends itself to this form of development better is that it's in close proximity to the transit system. So perhaps someone who's living here doesn't even require a car, and it's within walking distance to parks, to commercial uses, and to all host the recreation center, other amenities in the downtown area. So that's part of the reason that we deemed it appropriate for this area. And in terms of compatibility in planning does not mean the same as, it means that it can coexist harmoniously with surrounding land uses. And if you look at the overhead there and the photo of the neighborhood, you can see that there are many dwellings that are 30 feet wide with a lot of building. There are many situations in this area where the building exceeds 30%, many where it exceeds 35, and some exceed 40% lot coverage. So again, going back to the character of the area, it's consistent with that.
Okay. Do you have another question?
Sorry, I do. Mic was off. Bringing up the character of the neighborhood. These are older grandfathered lots, correct?
Chad, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, yeah, they're existing lots.
Yeah, they're existing lots, yeah.
So are we building for the past or are we building for the future?
Chad, I mean, we're building to the future, but we're building now. Chad, do you want to comment?
Yeah, I'll just, I don't want to get into back and forth so much, Mr. Chair, unless you want me to answer something, I will. But just on that issue, yeah, we're building for the future. We're planning for the future. There's a housing crisis we're well aware of. The upper levels of government, both federal and provincial, have indicated that we need to do more to create this type of housing, to create affordable housing, to promote intensification. Our policies in our official plan stipulate that we should be doing more to promote and encourage intensification and affordability. So yeah, in that respect, we are planning for the future. We're planning for the now and in the future.
Okay. Do you have any more specific questions?
Yes, yeah, I do. So to the south of this proposed, there's a multi-unit dwelling. And across the corner from that, there's also an Airbnb, which sometimes can cause parking issues. what sort of assurances that are we gonna get as current residents that it won't, our parking, the parking on the street will still be accessible and be available when required? Because you're requesting to add, what, 6 new dwellings?
Chad, I assume
Yeah.
that those are going to be a town, or an OPP issue.
So-
you wanna
So,
speak to that?
Mr. Chair, that parking on the street is public parking. It's available to anybody.
Yeah.
And of course, people that live on that street use it more frequently than other people would use it. The off-street parking standards in the bylaw are meant to capture that need. And they meet the off-street, through this proposal, they're meeting the number of off-street spaces through the 4 spaces per lot. The other thing that's more supportable about this application, and if they were to try something different, and we did look at a couple of different options before before we agreed and to put this one forward, is that in the front, there are 2 driveways you can see there, and in between, there's this on-street space. If all the parking were to be accommodated in the front yard, the likelihood of that on-street space still remaining is 0. So there's still going to be an on-street space in front of it. Plus you've got the 4 spaces per lot off the street.
Thank you. Next question.
I've lived across the street for most of my life, and we've experienced both storm and sanitary sewer flooding in the past. Increasing the building lot coverage and basement area would reduce the amount of water that the lots can retain. It is probable that these 2 lots being redeveloped near the end of the street could increase the chances of overwhelming the existing system and cause issues for the current neighborhood. I was required to have a drain in my backyard because 20 years ago when I built a house, it was required because that area flooded quite commonly. What sort of assurances for everyone around there that our properties won't be flooded if this goes in?
Well, as Chad pointed out, or I guess as Donna read out, there's a series of provisions that would be attached as conditions to any approval of this application. And all of those conditions would have to be met before any construction was allowed. That includes runoff, drainage, sewer capacity, all those things.
Can you bring up the, if you don't mind, can I ask, can you bring up the map again, the satellite image?
We have that, Chad?
Below and behind the proposed, or I should say to the west and to the south of the proposed lot for redevelopment, it's commercial, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
The green space in and around the area seems to be less than most areas. Would that not be a concern for drainage? And with the increased paving of the proposed paving of the rear alley, would that also not create less green space and therefore less for the land to retain water?
Okay, Chad?
So just to be clear, the condition that administration is recommending is to pave the hard surface, the alley, only to the extent of the subject property, to the northerly extent of the subject property, so that area there. And the proposal meets the minimum landscaped open space area established in the bylaw. So they're not asking for any relief from that.
Thank you. Next question.
So the proposed development reduces the main dwelling size on both lots by 20% compared to existing rules. Is that correct?
Yeah, they're asking if you're referring to the frontage, it's from the roughly 40 foot down to 30 feet. Yeah, but it's addressing the existing lot. So the existing lot is 30 feet. It's a lot that can be sold now. And in order for it to be built on, the proponents are requesting relief to allow for that 30 feet.
The green space meets the requirement, is that correct? Or the open landscaped as well?
Chad?
That's correct, yes.
Yes.
Will there be any outdoor storage sheds or any other accessory buildings to be built afterwards?
I don't believe so, but Jack, if you want to address that.
We've requested a 1% increase in the lot coverage to accommodate the front porches that are going to be on the houses so that it looks like the neighborhood. And because of it, we would be basically at maximum lot coverage at that point.
But there are no
So no,
planned
there are no
storage
plans or
sheds. No.
intent for any accessory structures. No.
Okay, thank you.
How, for outdoor maintenance, where will they store a lawnmower or shovels or anything to maintain the property?
Not sure.
It would be a property maintenance company that they would have that would come and do that.
Okay.
If this lot was divided today, how many meters would it be in width, in frontage, I should say?
Chad?
Mr. Chair, I don't mean to be like rude, but I don't understand the question because the lots are existing, so they're 30 feet each.
Yeah.
But if you mean if someone wanted to sever a lot and meet the bylaw, the bylaw is 50 feet, so 15 meters. So 49.2 feet, I think is what that
Okay.
amounts to.
How many more questions do you have, sir?
2 or 3.
Okay.
So the current lot is about 40% less than what's required for new lots, correct? And that includes the space around the yards and everything like that?
Mr. Chair, I don't know the exact math. I can just tell you that those lots are 30 feet, they exist. They're getting relief to allow, so there is a recognition that existing lots can be built on. They're getting relief from that to go to 30 feet which has been done throughout this neighborhood.
Yeah.
Okay? And they meet, all the buildings, proposed buildings meet the minimum yard requirements and setbacks,
Okay.
other than what is before the committee tonight with respect to, the driveways.
Okay.
Can I just finish it up with a statement? Or do I just ask, I'm only allowed to ask questions?
No, finish up with a statement.
Okay. Well, I'm not against the redevelopment of the lots. It shouldn't come at the expense of the current residents' enjoyment and the increased burden to our properties in the neighborhood. The proposed land variance application with its potential for parking chaos, increased draining issues, and the maximum space utilization of the bylaws does not seem compatible to the neighborhood. I asked the committee to take into consideration these concerns and either put conditions in place for the additional conditions in place for the application or outright rejecting these variances based on the number of variances and how excessively different collectively all the variants in the proposed applications are from the surrounding properties. Thank you.
Okay, so we have two virtually, Weiwei and is Weiwei here? Do we have anybody online? Can you turn your camera and mic on? Weiwei?
Yes, so I'm on behalf of 1231 St. Denis Street. I bought this house like 2 years ago. I don't have much knowledge on those things,
No.
so I'm just list here to get more knowledge about the community. Yeah. I don't have more questions. Thank you.
Her mic is not. Is it possible for her to email her questions? And then we can record them? Okay. Wei, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
We're having technical difficulties in hearing you in the public forum. So could you type your question in the chat box? Do you have a statement? Okay. All right. Okay, so if there's no questions, the next one virtually is Robert Shaban. Robert, can you hear us? We can't hear you.
I can hear you. Sorry, I'm just getting to the meeting now. I apologize. I had a patient that went late. My
Just a minute, we're having a hard time hearing you here.
Can you hear me now?
You're not coming through the public system here. It's just on the. You try again?
Can you hear me?
No. You don't have a microphone either.
I'm guessing if the system in the town's office have some issue because I can hear him.
I can hear you. I'm not sure if you're able to hear me.
Try again?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Now we can hear you.
Okay, sorry, I'm just getting to the meeting now. I was delayed, so I'm not sure what's been discussed.
So, yeah, it's
Right.
your turn to issue your comments. We've heard from the applicants and the neighbors, so it's your turn now. If you want to.
I just want to know that my concern is safety, actually, and it's with regards to the alley access. And there's a entrance to that alley between my two properties, which have been used as parking lots for the last 22 years. And so I want to make sure that patrons coming into the restaurant, the variety store, the dental office, and then with 6 new parking spots back there, I just want to make sure that there's no safety issues. So that, yeah, so because there's a lot of blind spots and whatnot going in and out, so that would be my concern. And I just want to make sure that that's been looked at before anything is done or decided on.
Okay, thank you. The committee will take your concerns into consideration. Do
Thank
you
you.
have any other questions?
No,
or
thank you
comments?
very much.
All right, thank you. Okay. Would you want to try it? Yeah, we gonna try Wei. Although she didn't have any concern in what she said. Wei, are you still there? Wei, can you turn your mic on and speak?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay, I don't have any questions.
Okay, you're just listening in?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So that's it for people that want to speak on this application. Committee, any questions? Are you a resident? And what's your address? Okay, questions were done. Okay, I'll allow it. Go ahead. State your name and your address again.
My name is Brian Demers. I live at 1058 St. Pierre. And I guess my question is that you are all aware that when you have 6 residences, you have a possibility of at least 12 people. And 12 people will have much more than 6 vehicles. And are you aware that will put a lot of strain on the street parking that is already at 100% capacity?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, committee? Doug? Sure.
I always find these are hard to do. I've witnessed the ARU in my own residence. I was skeptical at first, but once they were developed, I saw that it was an addition to where I live. I know this is provincial and legislated that we have to look at these more often. With the number of years I worked for the municipality, other than this role, I worked closely with planning. I worked with them on developments, and I saw that they gave a great amount of consideration when they brought things forward. It wasn't something that they just wanted to build houses and get tax base. They really looked at what's going to benefit the community. And like I say, this is always hard to make a decision. I think, and most of the time when I saw a property that was being developed, when I went to look at the property, it wasn't a well-kept property. These developments added to the neighborhood. So I would have no problem, and I do believe this meets the 4 tests, and that's what we're here to look at, whether this meets the 4 tests, and it does. I would have no problem bringing this forward to a vote from the committee on the request for relief of minor variance for A0624 and A1424. With the amendments and also with the requirements to be met by the developer and consultations with the municipality. And
The conditions, the landscaping buffers on the drives.
yes.
Okay. Any other comments or seconders? Second by Paul. All in favor? That's carried. A 20-day appeal period on the application. Okay. The next application is application for minor variance. Are we gonna do this one? We're gonna do 8/12/24. Yeah, application for minor variance 8/12/24. Clark Wiebe, 1026 Les Bronze. Don, I'll read the application.
Minor variance application 8/12/24 Clark Wiebe, 1026 Les Bronze Road. The purpose of the application is to request relief from the following subsections of zoning bylaw 1746. Subsection 5.42.2C establishes that a standalone additional residential unit shall not be closer than 1.5 meters, 4.9 feet to any interior side lot line. And subsection 5.42.2G establishes that the maximum floor area shall be no greater than 50% of the primary dwelling. The applicant is proposing to convert an existing 54.9 square meter, 590.5 square foot accessory structure into a standalone ARU that will have a floor area of 52% of the primary dwelling on the property and a southerly interior side yard width of 1.22 meters, 4 feet. The subject property is designated residential in the official plan and zoned residential R2 in zoning bylaw 1746. The following are the comments received. Public Works and Engineering will require that the existing water service line be utilized to service the new ARU, and ideally that the new water meter be installed at the property line to meter all water usage from the entire property. In the absence of site-specific details regarding the location, condition, and size of existing water services, alternate arrangements may be required at the discretion of the Water Services Division. Permits from the Water Services Division are required, and a town operator is to be on site during the installation of any water services required daylighting of water infrastructure. Building Department. If application is granted for the proposed variance, the owner shall obtain a building permit and ensure all information and applicable laws meet the Ontario Building Code. Detailed building plans shall be submitted by a qualified individual, and an engineered lot grading plan will be required at the time of permit submission. No concerns from fire, no objection from ERCA, and Essex Power Lines indicates the proposed ARU building is under existing secondary services. Please review with Essex Power Line prior to beginning construction or options if services need to be relocated. ARU must be fed from the existing service, only one service lot permitted. Thank you.
Applicant,
Correct, I'm the applicant.
Clark?
Clark, yes.
Okay, welcome. So do you want to add anything?
No, that was well articulated. Thank you.
Okay. Questions from the committee?
Through you, Mr. Chair, just the kind of same question as the previous applicant. What are your plans for the accessory building?
The plan is to rent out both units, the front house plus the ARU as separate rentals.
Using the same parking?
Correct. The existing parking right now is approximately the width of 2.5 cars. My plan is to have one side of the driveway dedicated towards the front house and the other side of the driveway dedicated towards the ARU, denoted by clear parking lines as if it were to be in a commercial parking lot, designated where one parking space is for building A and one parking space is for building B.
Just a question. So there's no owner occupancy on the property?
Not currently, no. Currently, the property is vacant.
But you don't have any plans to live at this?
Not presently, no.
Okay. Thank you.
Does the administration have any concerns on this? Or like to speak to it?
Sure. Mr. Chair, thank you for that opportunity. No, we believe that this is a really good fit for this neighborhood. It's just north of the previous application. But this is one where they're not using alley access to get it. They're using the access from the front, and it's all existing. So they're not changing, how the lot would look or even function. They're taking an existing accessory structure and converting that into an ADU. And for that reason, we think it's appropriate to provide the relief necessary to meet that setback from the southerly side lot line.
Would there be anybody here to speak against it, neighbors, or are we?
I see on the application, we didn't have anybody to speak against the application. No. Nobody's registered.
The neighbor to that side where I'm requesting variance was here this evening speaking about the other applicant. I spoke with her ahead of time before I even applied for the permit in the first place, asking her if she had any problems with it, and if she had, that I wouldn't proceed with it because it is something very close to her property line. She said that she doesn't have any problem with it, to me personally, and she was here this evening, had the opportunity to speak on it. I even spoke to her before the meeting. She addressed that her concern was with the other applicant, not myself.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other questions, comments?
Through Mr. Chair, obviously, this is gonna meet the four tests. It's almost a mirror image of what we talked about earlier. And it's for affordable housing for younger people can have residency. For that reason, I'm going to move to approve application A 1324 1224.
Okay, seconder? No, okay. Okay, all in favor? Okay, that's approved, carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
20 days, yeah. Okay, we're way behind schedule. So, the last applicant tonight is, application for minor variance A 13-24 for 850 Lacoste Boulevard. You want to state your name and?
Yeah, I'm Ken McKenzie. My wife and I have put the application in. She couldn't be here tonight. She's in hospital tonight, so.
Okay. All right, Donna will read the application and then we'll discuss it.
Minor variance application A 1324, 850 Lacoste Boulevard. The purpose of the application is to seek relief from subsection 7.1.10B of zoning bylaw 1746, which establishes an interior side yard width of 1.8 meters, 6 feet for a two-story dwelling. The applicant is seeking relief to permit the construction of a 63.9 square meter, 688 square foot, two-story addition, including a single-car garage, resulting in a northerly side yard width of 1.3 meters, 4.3 feet, as depicted on the attached sketch. Minor variance A 1123 was granted for a 49.5 square meter, 533 square foot, two-story addition, resulting in a 1.2 meter northerly side yard width on May 28th, 2023. The current application is required as the proposed addition has changed from what was approved by minor variance A 1123. The property is designated residential in the official plan and zoned R2 in Tecumseh zoning bylaw 1746. The following comments were received. Public Works and Engineering has no comments regarding the requested minor variance. Building Department, if the applicant is granted for the proposed variance, the owner shall obtain a building permit and ensure all information and applicable laws meet the Ontario Building Code requirements. Detailed building plans shall be submitted by a qualified individual, and an engineered lot grading plan will be required at the time of permit submission. No concerns from fire. No objection to the application from Essex Region Conservation Authority. An Essex power line indicated to ensure that they are contacted if a service upgrade is needed. No concern on the proposed construction. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Donna. I have a question. Is there a garage going on this property?
Yes, so it's a 2-floor addition. The bottom is a new attached garage. Everything else goes above the garage.
Okay, it says new 1-story addition at the front, the roads.
So the architect designed it with the second floor starting a little bit further back. Because it's encroaching on the neighbor's property, she felt that that was nicer for them to not have the second floor at the front part of the structure. So that was done intentionally for that reason.
I'm sorry, encroaching on the neighbor's property.
Yeah, the reason we needed the minor variance is because we're too close to my neighbor, right?
Okay.
For the zoning bylaw. And with putting a 2-floor structure, she felt that if they were gonna have a complaint with it, it would be that this was gonna be next to their house. And so she moved the second floor back. We don't use that, I think it's 10 feet. And that was simply done for that reason, because I'd love to have the extra 10 feet, but it was done for that reason.
Okay. You don't happen to have any elevations of this, what it looks like?
They're not on me, no.
I'm just having a hard
When we
time.
submitted the proposal, it has all the detailed plans.
So how
with
do you
it.
get access to the garage? Is the
Oh,
garage?
The garage is gonna be, it's gonna have a front and back garage door. And the existing entry door on the side of the house will be an entry door from within the garage into the house. To get to the living space above, there'll be a hallway built using up part of what our existing master bedroom is now and going up a few steps to get to a new master bedroom, walk-in closet, bathroom, and bedroom level laundry.
Okay,
That's what the plan is
so
for
the
the living space.
garage is, you drive right up the driveway and into the garage?
Yes,
Okay. And new 1-story addition, so the garage is below?
so the garage goes back, whatever, 53 feet or whatever it is.
Does the garage extend behind the existing house?
Yes, the
That
whole
doesn't
structure
really-
extends behind the existing house.
Does it say that on the plan here?
Yeah, it should.
It says existing shed to be demolished.
There's a shed there now. It won't be there then. The building will be on it.
Yeah, but there's nothing that says garage there. Okay. Yeah, it's not labeled on the plan, so I'm.
He's referring to the site plan.
So the site plan is in what's existing now?
The site plan was
Site
the
plan that,
diagram that was included in the notice.
yeah, there's nothing that says it's a garage. And it
Oh,
says garage in here, but I'm having a hard time
oh, I see.
understanding your plan here. But it's a fairly long, deep garage, narrow garage.
Very long and deep.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
What happened originally was we applied for a minor variance, and at the time, the architect knew that she had done it too short. But she was under the mistaken impression that because the variance was needed over width, and it's a very long property, so there was no way that we would be taking up too much space on the property for the structure that was gonna be built. She felt it was irrelevant that it was gonna be longer. And so she was surprised when the person that was approving the building plan that we submitted, your building plan, the price is determined by your square footage. And when he added up the square footage for the structure he was approving, and it was different than the square footage of the minor variance that was approved last year, that's what drew everybody's attention to it, right? And she didn't realize that was actually going to be a problem. So we had to start the process over again with the proper plan.
Okay, thank you. Administration, your comment?
Mr. Chair, our comments are the same as when this application originally came before you. We feel that it's supportive. The one concern that we had was that perhaps the neighbor thought differently about this one because of the increased size of the addition and, you know, more relief from the side yard. More of the building was requiring relief from the side yard, interior side yard. That's not the case. We haven't heard concerns, comments from the neighboring property owner. I apologize for not getting this up earlier. It just took a while to find it. That's a picture up there of the
Oh, okay.
front facade, and you can see the garage. Here, the one-story garage, and then behind it is the two-story structure. But at any rate, Mr. Chair, and members of the committee, we support this and feel that it meets the 4 tests.
Okay. Thank you. Questions from the committee or comments? Doug?
I know these lots are considerably large in depth. I think there's no concern about lot coverage on this. Okay.
Anybody else? Anybody prepared to make a motion? Doug?
I'd like to make a motion for A1324 850 Lacoste Boulevard for the minor variance. As was stated, I do believe this meets the 4 tests. We had looked at it before and granted, but being there was a discrepancy with the building department, and then that I think that I would be comfortable bringing this forward for committee.
Okay, with the conditions?
There's not, I don't believe.
Seconder by Chris. All in favor? Okay, that's carried. 20-day appeal period.
So just clarification on that, is that 20 days before the building permit can be applied for again, or just 20 days before anything can be
20
started?
days, somebody could appeal,
Right,
correct?
but could the contractor submit the building permit before that's up, as long as ground doesn't get broken for 20 days?
Yeah, but would it be released before 20 days? No.
It
Okay.
won't be released, but it can be reviewed.
Okay. All right, thank
All
you.
right, thank you. Okay. All right, we're motion to adjourn. Doug, seconder, Paul. Okay, all in favor? All right. Okay, thank you.